Hey, this is Colton Dixon, and you're listening to Dispatch Radio.
All right, folks, with me now is Scott Elrod. Now, you may not recognize the name at first, but let me tell you what. Great movie that we just saw screened here in the Tampa Bay area last year, Home Run, as well as parts in some big flicks like Lone Survivor and Argo. Scott, how are you, my friend?
Doing well. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for fitting us in, and I want to get right to Home Run. I didn't have a chance to talk to you when the film itself was coming out, but really enjoyed the film. And obviously, the first thing people are always asking is, you had a little bit of a background in baseball before you started in this film, right?
Not on professional level or anything like that. I played a little bit of ball in high school, but that's about it.
Right.
Softball, as us old folks do.
As us old folks. Well, listen, you can talk for yourself. I've given that up a long time ago, my friend. The character really deals and centers around some very difficult times in his past, those kinds of things, alcoholism, father, and that kind of thing. What was it about the role itself that really drew you in and really made you embrace this character?
He had a lot of stuff going on, and it was definitely something where I always look forward to a good challenge, and I think it's also something that unfortunately so many people can relate to. And for me, one of the reasons why I got into this whole crazy thing of acting was I wanted to have the ability to go after roles that I think affected people, and this was certainly one of those ones, at least the way it was written and the storyline. And then we kind of put everything together with great director and wonderful cast, and it certainly turned into what I had hoped it to be. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where it just felt right, and it's one of those great roles that not too many times you get the opportunity to play. So I was fortunate enough to be cast as Corey and surrounded by great people and writing and direction and, producers, everything involved just kind of made it work.
There was one key aspect I thought was it just kind of glossed over, but I love it very much because I'm not sure that it's really hit on in many of the other films that are sports related. Is Corey throws a tantrum when things don't go his way, and then later on in the film when he's coaching Little League and one of his boys does the same thing, the dad says, "Well, where did he get it from, Corey? He got it from people like you." And that was a really great piece that's not touched on in other sports films, right?
I can't speak for other films, but for that one, I think it was kind of a full circle, and that was almost a defining moment for Corey. He realized, I think at that moment, the effect and the ability that he has to influence, other people, and I think kind of made him step back and just realize, wow. I am in a position of power, I guess, if that makes sense, or, people looked up to his character, being a professional ball player. I think in real life you see that so many times, and there's, so many athletes out there that some are really good at realizing that, and others could certainly use some assistance. But, I think in general people don't realize that when you're in a place of, I don't know, it's not call it celebrityism or something, but, when you play professional ball, you really do have an effect on people. And, for Corey's character, I think that was a moment of realization, and he just it was a humbling moment, I think.
I think you're absolutely right, and we're trying to touch on the issue here where, we have ball players that say, I'm not a role model, and this really did a great way of kind of articulating that, yes, you are, and this is kind of how you are, and why all of your actions mean something. And I want to touch on, what the other aspect of the film that really touched me in my life. We have alcoholism in our family, and the one thing about the film is, to someone who doesn't get alcoholism, maybe this seems a little tedious, but Corey is in a rut, and it's a very deep rut that he has a very difficult time getting out of. And I think that was really very impactful for the audience.
Yeah, definitely some demons, for sure. And I think that's what made the story so compelling to watch, is because it wasn't one of those, Hollywood films where it's like, okay, here's typical guy with a problem, and then let's address it. And then at the end of the film, everything's happy-go-lucky. You know, he gets the girl, he gets the prize and all that, and it's all with his life. I mean, even as the film ended, he still he hadn't reached the finish line, if that makes sense. And I think that's just a compliment to the writing in that, you know, it's not always the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You know, there's still a lot of things that Corey's character has to overcome. I mean, granted, he's heading in the right direction, but you know, I can't speak for the producers, but I think one of the things about this film was they wanted to, you know, provide some hope for people that are going through the different things that they're experiencing, and you know, make it as real as possible. And by leaving it that way and him not quite reaching the finish line, I think it just gives people hope that it's more, what's the word I'm looking for, obtainable, and they can relate to it a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the film, even with the Christian theme at the end, and, you know, it's not all about unicorns and rainbows, and just because
right.
You know, maybe you're right with the Lord and you're saved and you're trying to walk the walk, the whole point is that you're set apart. That's a very it's a narrow path. That's not an easy road. And if you're already coming in with all these demons and baggage, it's hard. And his character really just takes that first step, and then the movie ends. And I think that I like that very much, because many times in Hollywood films, or even in Christian films, you don't get that. Like you said, you know, they button it up into a nice, convenient package
right.
at an ending. And Home Run didn't do that. I like that, actually.
White picket fence, you know, he and the wife and the kid are all hanging out, drinking lemonade on the porch. You know, it wasn't that ending, which I think is a compliment, because it literally, I mean, we're dealing with real issues, and a lot of those testimonies that were acted out in the film came from, you know, versions, or if not true stories, of people that the producers and the writers interviewed. So it was one of those things that we wanted to just obviously pay respect to the testimonies of those individuals that were so kind in giving them to us. When I say us, I mean the project. But you know, you got to represent, and I think they did a good job of representing, and it also is something, like I said, it's obtainable, and people can relate to it.
Well, I want to shift gears, because you're part of the reason I get my wife to watch a film like Argo, because of Home Run, you've, unbeknownst to you, have got a new nickname that you are, quote, the hot guy. And that was how the church folks have responded to Home Run. Was the initial response was the hot guy. So Argo features hot guy, and Argo has a really great role in a great scene where, you know, they're making this faux science fiction film as the backdrop to getting hostages out of Iran, and you get a pretty unique opportunity to work with an amazing cast in this role. So how did you even you know, how was that sort of presented to you?
Well, thank you for the new nickname. Mom and Dad will be proud.
I'll let Lauren know that she's given Scott a new nickname, and we'll make shirts and whatever if we have to.
That's funny. So Argo just came about. I had a meeting with the Vice President of Casting over at Warner Brothers, and they were actually looking to cast the role of the Minotaur, which was in the very beginning of the movie, there was that half horse, half human character, and it was actually quite funny. Normally, when you go into these meetings, you have what us actors refer to as sides, which are essentially a couple pages, you know, anywhere from 1 to 20 pages of words from the script, and it's the scene that you audition for the role that you're auditioning for. And there were no sides for this role. Essentially just went in and met with the VP of casting, walked in, and the assistant said, well, Scott, it's a little interesting here. We don't have any sides for you. I don't have anything for you to necessarily say or do. But in the corner there's a headless horse, or a horse mask, and literally I look over my shoulder, and there's a garbage bag, and I open it up, and it's this full-on horse mask, and the casting director asked me to take my shirt off and put the mask on and just ad-lib into the camera as if you were speaking to Mr. Affleck.
Wait. Let me ask a question. How does your agent even convince you to go? And I mean, what's the setup here behind? Hey, Scott, I have a role for you to go and be the Minotaur. Or do you not know when you walk in this room what you've gotten yourself into?
No, I have no clue. And
that's fantastic.
I asked the picture to come out and just tell me I'm getting punked. But needless to say, I play along, and it's obviously a good opportunity. Had no idea what the role, obviously there was no script release or anything like that. So it was just an opportunity to be a part of what potentially turned out to be a great film. And so I put it on, and I just start ad-libbing, and I pull out this Mr. Ed kind of banter, and essentially claim that, Mr. Ed is my cousin. He's down with a cold, and he couldn't make it into the meeting today, so I'm here as his representative. And anyway, long story short, I leave the room, and a couple of weeks go by, and we get a phone call from the casting office, and we have an offer for a totally different role that has nothing to do with this horse guy that I just tried to pretend I was playing. And it was essentially for the role that I ended up playing in the film, which was, let's just call it, I don't know, I kind of refer to it as the Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon character of the film. Go back to the 70s, and that was kind of like, that was the whole thing, was that Flash Gordon-ish type character, the guy that saves the planet.
You look the part. I have to be perfectly honest. If we want to start rebooting Flash Gordon, we need to give Scott Elrod a call, because you look the part.
It was kind of an interesting turn of events how that whole part actually got created. It wasn't originally written into the script, and I later found out that the wardrobe department had the outfit that I was wearing on a mannequin in a corner, and Ben was in going over wardrobe stuff with the wardrobe department, and he saw that outfit on a mannequin, and I guess he had mentioned to the wardrobe person, I've got just the guy for that. And that's kind of how that whole thing got started. And anyhow, they called me and brought me in, and I put the outfit on, and it fit, and I guess the rest is history. So,
did you have any great opportunities or memories that you can share from set? I mean, you're there with John Goodman and Alan Arkin, of course, Affleck himself, and some folks, and you have some interaction with them, I'm sure, but maybe not a ton. But you got any really cool story or anything behind the scenes?
It was such a joy and honor to be on set, and I can tell you one thing: the way that the cast responded to Ben was just, it's a testimony to his professionalism and how good he is at what he does. When you've got veteran actors like Alan and John, and I mean, guys that have been doing this since before Ben was even on the planet, if that makes sense. But, here it is, you've got, it was just cool seeing how these veteran actors responded and respected Ben, and it's just a testament. I mean, the guy got best film for it. So anyway, that was really neat to watch, because obviously you've got tons of experience, and they could have been very arrogant or shut down and done their own thing. But it was just really cool to see the process and to see Ben's excitement, and he really dove into this project, and I think it definitely showed, and his hard work and determination paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Argo was definitely my favorite film of that year, and another great opportunity. You move right into another one that we can talk about that's really popular. Folks have seen Lone Survivor, the Marcus Luttrell recounting of a disastrous mission in the mountains of Afghanistan. You have the opportunity there to play a Navy SEAL and kind of recount a little bit about how that set came together and what it was like creating a film like that with Peter Berg.
Started when I read the book years ago, and then I was fortunate enough to meet Pete at a charity event. And at that point, I expressed to Pete my interest in wanting to be a part of the film, and having come from a military background and have been in the military myself, I definitely wanted to be a part of it. So it just kind of started. It started there, and then a couple years went by, and Pete told me that I'd be in the film, and after that, it was maybe 3-4 months, we got a phone call from his group, and they sent an offer over, and the rest is history.
Did you get a chance to meet Marcus?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Marcus was very much involved in the project. He was pretty much on set every single day, and this was his baby. You know, he wanted to make sure that everybody got it right, and I think if anything, he wanted to be there to support Pete, just to make sure that these boys were being represented the way that they deserved to be. And you know, we were very lucky. And when I say we, I more so, I think Pete and the production, in that we had the support of the team, and there were at any given point probably say at least 3 SEALs on set, and at sometimes we had 5, 6, 7, 8.
Wow!
Just making sure that everything was in line with the way that the SEALs work, and these are an elite group of individuals, and the last thing we want to do is misrepresent them. So we had a lot of support from the Navy and the SEALs and the team, and Marcus and all of his brothers were there, making sure everything went down the way it went down.
Did you have to go through a SEAL training, little mock time, or a little bit of a break-in period, a little bit?
That was one of the things I really wanted to do. Unfortunately, I didn't. But the main guys, when I say the main guys, I mean Mark and Taylor and Ben and Emil, they all went through some sniper training, and they had some training that they got to go through, which I was super envious of. But anyhow, yeah, very, very cool that they took it to that level and did it. I would have signed me up any day of the week. A free workout.
That's awesome. So, you've also got a long resume of some really cool shows that you've been on. You've been on just about every version of NCIS, I think. I mean, I think you're kind of you're like a universal star on some of these shows. You've been everywhere. So, you got any special things in the hopper now that we can look forward to seeing you on? Anything else lined up here right away?
Just did an episode with Charlie Sheen on his show, Anger Management, which is on FX, and that should be out in the next, I want to say the next 5 to 15 days. So yeah, you can check that out. But right now it's just middle of the pilot season, and we're running through the gamut, just working on the new shows, trying to find a fit, and that's about it. But yeah, Anger Management should be out in the next 5 to 15 days or so.
That's fantastic. And I'll give you a chance to plug. You on social media and website or anything like that? You part of all that stuff?
Yeah, not as much as the PR team wishes that I were. But yeah, Instagram is Scott Elrod, and then Twitter, I want to say, is at Scott_Elrod.
Okay, we'll link to that. We'll try to get on board with your PR team and tell you we got to get you more involved, I guess, because that's what folks are doing these days. Be tweeting pictures of Hot Guy everywhere he goes and does that, and everybody follow him. I don't know. I guess that's what people do now. Scott, I tell you what, it's really been a treat. I really enjoy, first of all, Home Run is really, really a great movie for me. I really did enjoy. I'm a big fan of sports movies anyway, but this one dealt with so many real-life issues and take-homes. It's been a treat to get a chance to catch up with you, as well as find out more about your career and what some of the different roles were and that kind of thing. And we'll look forward to Anger Management coming out in the next week to 10 days or so.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for the call.
All right, thanks for fitting this in. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.